Sagittarius. A woman comes to your home with the police. A message from the universe for you today. Sagittarius, today brings with it a silent message, one that your soul has long been waiting to hear, even if your mind hasn't yet caught up. Something or someone is approaching. Not with chaos, but with a truth so pure it might leave you standing still, questioning everything you thought you understood about protection, about strength, about the unseen hands guiding your journey. If you're here now, it's not a coincidence. It's a quiet invitation from the universe, a soft but powerful reminder that you are never alone, even when you feel most isolated. There have been moments, Sagittarius, when your heart raced without a clear reason, when a shadow of uncertainty brushed your soul even though everything around you seemed fine. Those weren't accidents. They were echoes, subtle signals from something greater, preparing you for a shift not just in circumstances, but in consciousness. Today, if you allow yourself to listen, not just with your mind, but with the deepest part of your spirit, you will find that what you once thought was random has been a sacred unfolding all along. Stay with me until the end of this message. Let it wash over you, not with urgency but with the quiet certainty that comes when the soul recognizes its own truth. And if you find a part of yourself softening, awakening, remembering what it means to trust your inner voice again, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Not because you owe it, but because there are others out there whose spirits are silently waiting for the same gentle reminder you're about to receive. Gate 1. The first whisper. When the universe tries to wake you up. Sagittarius, you are no stranger to the silent tremors that move through life without warning. There have been times when you sat in a perfectly ordinary moment. A dinner with friends, a quiet walk through familiar streets, a night spent laughing under the stars, and yet inside you something stirred. A ripple, faint but persistent, whispering that something was shifting, even if the world around you hadn't yet noticed. That inner unease, that unexplained quickening of the heart, was never random. It was your soul responding to a truth still hidden from view, a truth the universe was carefully, tenderly preparing you to face. For a spirit like yours, vast, intuitive, born to wander both outwardly and inwardly, these signs are not anomalies. They are part of your sacred dialogue with existence. You feel the currents of change long before they arrive. You sense the thinning of veils, the tightening of threads, the gathering of unseen forces in your life. And yet, because you are also deeply loyal, endlessly hopeful, you sometimes ignore those signals, telling yourself it's just your imagination, just another restless phase, just your wild Sagittarius spirit needing adventure again. But deep down, you always know better. Maybe it began with sleepless nights, where dreams felt heavier than usual, filled with blurred faces and messages half remembered. Maybe you started noticing repeating numbers at strange moments. 11:11 on the clock when you thought about a long-lost friend, 2:22 flashing when you hesitated on a decision, 5:55 when you stood on the brink of saying yes to something new. Or maybe it was subtler, a sudden chill in the air without reason, a feeling of being watched not with fear, but with a curious sense of protection, as if unseen hands were guiding you away from something or toward something else entirely. Sagittarius, you carry within you an ancient agreement, a quiet promise made between your soul and the greater universe long before this lifetime began. That when the time came, you would listen, you would awaken, you would remember not just who you are, but why you are here. And so when the signs start gathering around you, when the strange coincidences pile up, when your body feels the call before your mind can name it, that is not madness. That is memory. That is your soul knocking gently, urging you to wake up. I once knew a Sagittarius man, endlessly optimistic and brave, who lived his life by the philosophy that everything could be solved with enough laughter and movement. But then came a year when the laughter no longer lifted him, and every journey outward felt strangely hollow. First he thought he was simply tired. Then he blamed it on circumstance, on the changing world. It wasn't until he began waking up from vivid dreams, dreams of doors he couldn't open, of paths he couldn't complete, that he realized something deeper was happening. His soul was calling him back inward, calling him to stop running, to stand still long enough to listen. And when he finally did, when he honored that restless unease instead of dismissing it, his entire life began to realign, not with what the world expected of him, but with what he had always quietly longed for but was too busy to admit. That is often how awakening begins for you, Sagittarius. Not with grand signs or loud declarations, but with small, persistent nudges. The feeling that something unseen is trying to get your attention. The subtle realization that the life you've built, however beautiful, is missing something essential, something only truth can fill. It is important, especially for a soul as expansive as yours, to remember that not every call from the universe arrives wrapped in comfort. Sometimes it comes with disruption. Sometimes it arrives in the form of people, moments, or dreams that unsettle your carefully balanced world. It might look like a new person entering your life, carrying an energy you can't quite explain, one that challenges your assumptions, that shines a light into corners you preferred to leave in shadow. It might look like a sudden confrontation with a reality you have long denied. It might even look like a moment when you are forced to stop, to sit with yourself, to ask questions you've spent a lifetime outrunning. But Sagittarius, none of it is meant to break you. It is meant to wake you. It is meant to return you to yourself. There is a sacred courage required to answer these calls, to sit with the discomfort instead of running from it, to trust that even in confusion, you are being led somewhere necessary. And you, more than anyone, are built for that kind of bravery. You are the seeker of truth in a world that often prefers illusion. You are the archer, aiming not just for goals but for meaning, for depth, for the place where soul meets life. If lately you felt uneasy for reasons you can't explain, if you found yourself questioning things that once seemed stable, if your dreams have grown heavier or your heart has grown more restless, honor that. Don't rush to silence it. Don't distract yourself with busyness or noise. Sit with it. Listen to it. Ask it what it wants you to see. Because sometimes, Sagittarius, what feels like a disturbance is actually a blessing. Sometimes the knock at the door, literal or symbolic, is not a threat but an invitation. An invitation to step out of the familiar and into the extraordinary. An invitation to awaken to a life more honest, more vibrant, more aligned with the wild, unbreakable soul you came here to embody. And know this, you are not alone. You have never been alone. Every whisper, every dream, every trembling intuition has been a conversation between your soul and the vast, benevolent universe that is always conspiring for your highest good. The woman at the door, the figure beside her, the sudden racing of your heart. These are symbols not of endings but of beginnings. They are reminders that you are ready, even if you don't feel ready. Especially if you don't feel ready. You have always been more protected, more guided, and more powerful than you knew. And now finally it is time to remember. Gate 2. The moment of truth. When life gently forces you to face yourself. Sagittarius, there comes a time in every soul's journey when pretending is no longer an option. You can feel it long before it happens. The invisible cracking of an old foundation. The subtle weight pressing down on your chest. The way ordinary moments start feeling strangely hollow. You sense that a shift is near, even if you can't yet name what must change. And then, almost without warning, it happens. Something or someone enters your life, carrying not comfort but clarity. They don't come to destroy you, though it might feel that way at first. They come to reveal the parts of yourself you've hidden even from your own light. Maybe it arrives as a confrontation you didn't expect. A conversation that exposes what you thought you could keep buried. Maybe it comes in the form of a loss. A job ending, a friendship dissolving, a love walking away, forcing you to realize that you had outgrown what you were too scared to release. Or maybe it happens quietly, almost imperceptibly, like waking up one day and realizing you no longer recognize yourself in the mirror, that the life you built for survival has silently suffocated your spirit. However it arrives, Sagittarius, the truth doesn't come to punish you, comes to liberate you. I once knew a Sagittarius woman who had spent years curating a life that looked perfect on the outside. The successful career, the admired social circle, the steady relationship. She was praised for her optimism, her resilience, her ability to make the best of every situation. But deep inside, she carried an exhaustion she couldn't name, a restlessness she kept brushing aside. She told herself to be grateful, to be practical, to be strong. Until one afternoon, during an ordinary conversation with a colleague, a single offhand comment cracked her world wide open. "You don't seem happy," he said simply, without malice, without agenda. And in that moment, something inside her collapsed. Not from weakness, but from the unbearable weight of carrying a life that was no longer true. She didn't have the strength to argue. She didn't have the energy to defend. She only had the raw, shaking realization that she had spent years building a life around what others expected from her, not what her own soul craved. That was the beginning, not of a breakdown but of a breakthrough. It was messy. It was painful. It cost her things she once thought she could never live without. But it also gave her back something far more precious: herself. Sagittarius, you are known for your bravery, your willingness to leap into the unknown, your refusal to be caged. But sometimes the greatest courage you can summon isn't in leaping outward, but in turning inward, in facing the truths you have buried beneath busyness, loyalty, and hope, in admitting that not every story you wrote yourself into was meant to last forever, in acknowledging that even your own optimism can sometimes become a trap, keeping you in situations where your soul has quietly stopped singing. When life brings you that symbolic knock at the door, that woman, that figure of truth walking beside her, you may feel an instinctive fear. Fear of losing what you know. Fear of facing what you've denied. Fear of the uncertainty that always accompanies transformation. But Sagittarius, you were never meant to live a life of quiet suffocation. You were born for freedom, not only outwardly but inwardly. You were born to be a living embodiment of truth. Even when that truth demands everything comfortable, everything familiar, be surrendered in its name. There is a misconception that awakening feels beautiful, that it arrives with soft music and golden light. But the reality is often messier, quieter, more disorienting. Awakening feels like sitting in your own silence and realizing you can no longer lie to yourself. It feels like mourning the life you outgrew, grieving the parts of you that must be left behind. It feels like standing in the ruins of your old self and wondering who you will become now. And yet, in that moment of terrifying honesty, a profound relief also arrives. Because when you finally stop pretending, when you finally stop negotiating your spirit's truth for the comfort of others, you are reborn. Not in one dramatic instant, but piece by piece, day by day, choice by trembling choice. You begin to reclaim your energy. You begin to rebuild your life not from obligation, but from desire. You begin to trust that even the losses were necessary, that even the breaking was holy. Maybe you are in that space now, Sagittarius. Maybe you are standing at the threshold, heart pounding, hands shaking, trying to decide whether to keep patching the old or to dare stepping into the unknown. If so, let me say this clearly. You are not weak for feeling afraid. You are not wrong for grieving what you must leave behind. You are not broken because your spirit demands more. You are simply awakening. You are simply becoming who you were always meant to be. Trust the unraveling. Trust the disruption. Trust that what feels like destruction is actually creation. The tearing down of false walls so that something real, something lasting, something soul deep can rise in their place. And remember, you don't have to have it all figured out today. You don't have to map every step before you move. You only have to take the first one, the step away from denial and toward truth. The step away from surviving and toward living. The step away from numbness and into the raw, vivid, terrifying beauty of being fully, unapologetically alive. This moment of truth is not your enemy. It is your portal. Walk through it, Sagittarius. Even trembling, even uncertain, even with tears in your eyes, walk through it. Because on the other side is not just a new chapter. It is the life your soul has been quietly dreaming of all along. Gate 3. Protected by light, the unseen hands guiding Sagittarius. Sagittarius, even though you often carry yourself with strength and humor, with wild dreams and boundless energy, there have been moments, quiet, trembling moments, when you have wondered if you were walking this life alone. Perhaps it was in the dark of night, when sleep would not come and your heart ached without a clear reason. Perhaps it was in a crowded room, surrounded by people yet feeling unseen. Perhaps it was in the middle of a decision, when you desperately wished for a sign, for a hand on your shoulder, for something to reassure you that you were not making this journey blind. What you didn't know, or perhaps knew but forgot, is that you have never walked a single step without unseen hands guiding you. There are forces around you, Sagittarius, as real and tangible as the ground beneath your feet, even if they live just beyond the veil of your daily awareness. They have been with you since before you took your first breath. They are here not to control you, not to remove every obstacle, but to protect your spirit and guide you back to your truest path whenever the noise of the world tries to drown out your inner compass. You may have noticed them without realizing it. The sudden idea that saves you from a bad decision, the The stranger's kind word that lifts you at the exact moment you are about to give up. The gut feeling that tells you to trust someone, or to walk away, even when your mind argues otherwise. These are not coincidences. These are messages, gentle interventions from the unseen, reminding you that your soul is never forgotten, that your dreams are not foolish, that your heart is not too much for this world. I once spoke with a Sagittarius woman who told me about a time she almost gave up on a dream she had nurtured since childhood. Life had been relentless, disappointment after disappointment piling up until she began to believe maybe she had been wrong to hope for something more. One night, feeling completely defeated, she sat on her porch and asked the universe aloud, "Give me a sign. Any sign." Within minutes, a small bird, one she had never seen before in her area, landed on the railing just a few feet from her, tilting its head as if listening, staying far longer than any wild bird normally would. She wept, not because she believed in magic tricks, but because something deep inside her recognized the message. You are seen. You are heard. Do not give up now. Sagittarius, your connection to the unseen is not a weakness. It is your gift. Your intuition is a bridge between worlds, a silent language you were born understanding, even if you were taught to ignore it. When you trust it, when you allow yourself to believe that the universe is speaking to you, not in grand gestures but in quiet knowing, you align yourself with a guidance far wiser than logic could ever offer. There may have been moments when you doubted, when the protection felt absent, when prayers went seemingly unanswered. But often the greatest protections do not look like miracles. They look like delays, like rejections, like redirections that only make sense in hindsight. The person who left without explanation. The job you thought you needed but didn't get. The plan that fell apart right when you needed stability. In those moments it is easy to feel abandoned. But the truth is you were being shielded. Shielded from what would have slowly dimmed your spirit. Shielded from what would have pulled you further from yourself. You have to understand, Sagittarius, the universe doesn't measure success the way humans do. It measures alignment. It measures growth. It measures how true you are being to the essence you were born to embody. And sometimes the most loving thing it can do is remove what you thought you needed, so you can remember what your soul has needed all along. Protection also comes in the form of resilience. The strength you have to stand up after every heartbreak. The hope you dare to nurture after every disappointment. The refusal to let bitterness build walls around your spirit. These are not just accidents of personality. They are evidence of the unseen hands lifting you when you didn't even realize you had fallen. You are part of something larger, Sagittarius. Your path, your lessons, your healing. They are woven into the greater tapestry of life. Every act of courage you commit, every time you choose to believe in light when darkness seems easier, every moment you choose kindness in a world that often rewards cruelty, you are strengthening not just your own spirit, but the spirit of the world itself. If lately you have been feeling exhausted, if you have been questioning whether the dreams you carry are worth the wait, if you have been quietly mourning parts of yourself that feel lost, know this. You are not broken. You are shedding. You are being prepared for something more aligned, something more whole, something that requires all of who you are, not just the parts that have been deemed acceptable by others. You don't have to fight for this protection. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to be perfect to deserve it. You are protected because you are loved. You are guided because you are chosen. Not chosen to be better than others, but chosen to remember what so many have forgotten. That living with an open heart is not weakness, it is sacred strength. So the next time you feel the wind shift around you, the next time a song plays at the perfect moment, the next time you catch a glimpse of repeating numbers or feel the unexplainable warmth of invisible arms around you, stop. Breathe. Listen. Thank the forces walking beside you even if you cannot see them. Trust that they are leading you exactly where you are meant to go. Not always by the easiest road, but always by the truest. And remember, Sagittarius, you were never meant to walk alone. You were meant to walk brightly, wildly, guided by a love that is older and stronger than anything this world could ever offer. Trust it. Trust yourself. You are closer than you think. Conclusion. You are the light you've been searching for. Sagittarius, if you have walked with me through every whisper of intuition, every quiet collapse of an old life, every unseen protection cradling you when you thought you were alone, then you already know this truth. You were never lost. You were only being called home. Home to the wild, luminous, resilient soul that has always burned inside you, even when you forgot. Every ending you survived, every truth you dared to face, every dream you refused to let die, they were never in vain. They were sacred stepping stones, each one designed to bring you closer to the version of yourself that is no longer defined by fear, or expectation, or smallness. The life that is unfolding for you now does not require you to earn it with suffering or to fight for it with exhaustion. It simply asks you to trust. Trust your heart, trust the timing, trust that everything you have felt, everything you have endured, was preparing you for the beauty and freedom you are stepping into. You are not broken, Sagittarius. You are blooming. You are not behind. You are precisely where you are meant to be. And the love, the opportunities, the dreams that are coming, they are not rewards for being perfect. They are the natural result of daring to be real. If anything in this journey touched you today, if a part of your soul whispered, "I remember now," then I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, not just for me, but to keep walking this path together, to keep choosing light in a world that so desperately needs it. You are not here to fit in. You are here to set yourself free. And the universe, Sagittarius, has been waiting a long time for you to finally take your rightful place among the stars.